Hey guys, what's up? I just wanted to do this video here to give you some tips if you're thinking about getting your CDL permit, think about getting into the industry. I wanted to share a couple of tips based on my experience in getting it. Um, that there are a few different ways of being able to approach the preparing for the test. And so I just wanted to share a couple of things with you, a couple of my thoughts on that. So for me, um, I decided to go the route of not of trying to spend as little money as possible to get the permit, because the most expensive route to take is to sign up for a trucking school that will take you through the whole entire thing, like getting your permit and then also getting your CDL. Two parts to getting your CDL. One of them is the written test. The second one is the driving test, the driving course. All that. So, but I really didn't feel like spending $3,000 to $5,000 to do that. I felt like maybe there was another way to be able to do it. So I did a little bit of research, used Google, all that fun stuff. Went on a couple of other YouTube channels to find out how other people got them as well, and settled down to actually getting it on my own. Because just like a driving normal driving permit, you can study the material on your own and go to the DMV and take a test. So it's the same concept here, a little bit different, a lot more information to take on. So that's where I'm kind of going to share my experience here, and hopefully I can give you enough tools if you're thinking about going the route of self-teaching to maybe help you out. So the one thing I will say is, if you're going to do self-teaching, you have to give yourself a lot of time. There's so much information that goes into the 4 tests that you have to take to get the permit. You'll be taking, in Texas, I'm not sure how it is in other states, but in Texas, you have to take a combination of 4 tests. It's a special requirement, a state special requirements test, the general knowledge test, the air brakes test, and the combinations test. I'm not sure how it varies to other states, but I know for sure there's at least 3 tests that you'll take no matter what state you're getting your permit in: the general knowledge, the air brakes, and the combinations. So and each one of the tests has a ton of information to learn. So it's very important that you give yourself enough time. For me, I gave myself about 3 months. Um, I gave myself a 3-month time frame to be able to study, to gather the materials, to study the materials, and then go take the test. The other thing that I would suggest is, depending on your state, especially right now, as we sit here in November of 2021, we're still in kind of we're still in the pandemic. So DMVs are operating, they all operate kind of different. The ones here in Texas operate off of appointment only. So you have to schedule an appointment to take your test and fill out your paperwork for the permit. And the wait times for those appointments are anywhere from 1 to 3 months, depending on how backloaded they are. I'm not sure how it is in other states, but I would recommend, if you're thinking about doing this, depending on the timeline that you're wanting to get the permit, you should probably, one of the first things you should do is call your local DMV or DPS and ask them what the scheduling times look like for getting your permit. Now, as far as gathering the study materials, I got 2 different things. I only used 2 things to do the majority of my studying. And the 2 things that I got I went to Barnes and Noble, and I got a CDL study prep guide. I'm gonna share it with you here. It's this one here. It's the CDL guide. That's the one that I bought. It was like, I think it was like, I bought it for like $35. It's got about 200 pages of content, including about like 6 or 7, like maybe a good 10 pages of practice test questions that you would see on the general knowledge, the air brakes, and the combinations. But it's got everything you need in here. It was a good book for someone that didn't really know very much of anything about this other than what I just kind of seen on YouTube and whatnot, and from what I heard from friends. But it was a good start. When I finished the book, I felt like I did need more. I'm pretty good. I like to read in general, so I got through the book pretty quickly, and I felt like I got a lot of information, but I felt like I needed more. So I began to look again online to see if there were any other resources. And one of the resources that I found was a website called driving-test.org. It's an online driver's license resource website where you can sign up, and you can get your state's handbook in there. And then what it also does is it gives you a massive bank of test questions that you're going to see on all those tests. And it actually has a guide and a step-by-step kind of study plan for whatever state you're taking the test in. So for me, I was able to sign up and use their program for the Texas stuff. So it gave me the study guide for the Texas Special Requirements test, and then of course all the other 3 modules. So that was very helpful, because that's one thing that the book doesn't have, because the book is a guide for the other three tests, the general knowledge, the air brakes, and the combinations. But if your state has its own requirements test, it doesn't have that in this book. So that's how you would get that. Another way that you would get that is you can go, I'm not sure how other DMVs do it, but you can go to the DMV and you can request a CDL guide, and they'll give you the, kind of the guide. It's about another 200-page book of, of study material and whatnot that you'll need to know for the test, that you'll need to know just to be a truck driver in general, really. But you can go to your local DMVs and grab that. You can print it out online on their websites. And another thing that driving-test.org does is they also have the PDFs for those. Sorry about that. Had a little bit of a technical issue there. But so get your study materials. Driving-test.org is a good website that I used to help me study. They have full-on test simulators, and all the study guides that you'll need on there. It's $50 a month. They have different deals if you need longer time periods. So the next thing I would suggest is getting with your DMV, your local DMV, to see if you have to schedule ahead of time for your test. Some states are still have COVID protocols that require appointments only. Here in Texas, they're like that. So that's what I would suggest doing first, so that you'll kind of have a time frame of when you'll be able to go and actually take your test, depending on what kind of timeline you're on. Then what I would suggest, as you lead up to the time and you get to the testing day, I would make sure that you get plenty of rest the night before. Make sure that you're well rested, because you're going to spend a lot of time at the DMV. In my experience, the first time that I went, I spent a total of about 2.5 hours. I spent about 2 hours waiting at the DMV just to be able to get in front of a clerk to process all the paperwork and everything for the permit before I even got in the testing chair. So this is where I made a mistake, admittedly, is I didn't expect that I was going to have to wait that long. That was probably on me for thinking that I was just going to be able to go in there. I had an appointment, and I'm going to, it's not going to take me very long, and I'm going to sit down and take that test. So I went in feeling really good about taking this test. 2 hours later, I'm kind of frustrated and I'm already getting kind of tired because I've been waiting at this DMV all day long. What felt like all day long. It was for about 2 hours. And then they ask you there, do you want to go ahead and take the test now, or do you want to take them later? I said, because I was already like, I've been here for 2 hours, let's go ahead and do it. That's where I made a mistake, because at that point I wasn't really in the mood of, I'm gonna take this test, I'm gonna concentrate on it. I was more in the mood of, I'm ready to get out of here, so let's go and take this test. So all the concentration that I went in to it with was pretty much gone, and sure enough, I failed. I failed the first test, which was the special requirements test. I failed that, and if you fail that, you can't take any of the other ones. So I was done for the day. Luckily, at least here in Texas, I'm not sure how it works anywhere else, but if you fail, it's not the end of the world. You can come back on the next business day and take it again. No harm, no foul. I think you can only take it like a certain amount of times and fail it before you have to wait. But at least three times or something like that, if you fail it, you can come back the next day. So I took it on a Friday, and so I couldn't go back until the following week. So I still had a couple of days to just kind of give myself quick little refreshers, make sure that I understood the information. Got a good feel for what the test actually looks like on the screen that you take it on. So that was nice to have that to kind of help me out throughout those next couple of days. And then I went back the first day that I could, got back in that chair. Didn't take me long, because you don't need an appointment after the first time that you go. After you do all the paperwork and it's all processed and the only thing that's left is testing, you can go and walk up and just tell them that you're here to retake the test, and they'll put you on a computer without having to wait or anything like that, without having to schedule another test. But anyways, so I passed all of them on the first try that day. I passed the special requirements, the general, the air brakes, and the combinations, and I got my permit. So it wasn't even really a matter that I didn't know the information. I think it was just my mindset wasn't right that first day that I went. So I would suggest mentally preparing yourself to be at the DMV for a few hours before you even get to sit down on the testing chair. And if you feel that after you've processed all that paperwork that your mind is you just need to get out of there that day, I would step away and come back another day when you feel ready to take the test. Or I would just maybe take a break in between and say, can I come back in an hour or two to come and take the test after you're done doing the paperwork? Because my mind just wasn't right after sitting there all that time and doing all the paperwork. So that would be my suggestion on that. But once you get your permit, then the next steps for you is you got to wait 2 weeks before you can take the actual driving portion of the test to get your full CDL. That's the next part of this pie. That's where I'm at it right now. Is I decided to go the route of doing a trucking school for this, because I don't know anybody that has a truck that could teach me in it. So I need to go the route of going to school. For me, I decided to sign up with a company. I decided to sign up with CFI, like you would have seen in my last video. I decided to sign up with them and sign up for one of their training programs. If you want more information on the training program, go to cfidrive.com and you can see all about their student driver programs. Also on one of the other videos on my channel, you can see I go in a little bit more explanation of the different programs and whatnot if you want more information there. But that's it. Then you go through that, and then you take the driving test, and hopefully I'll pass it, and I'll get my CDL, and I'll have my CDL here in about the next 3 weeks maybe. But there's different routes of going about it as well. If you have somebody, a family member, a friend, or anybody that is willing to teach you in their in their truck, they can. And if you feel confident that way, and then all you got to do is go back to is schedule your driving test at the DMV, and then go and take your driving test. And if you get your CDL, I mean, you're all set. So there's different ways of going about it, but I just thought that I would share my experience on the permit side of things, because this was the first time I've ever done this, and I didn't really have anybody in my family or in my inner circle of friends that has gone through this before that I could really piggyback off of. So this was really kind of all self-taught on my own, and I'm glad I was able to get that permit this way, because it actually saved me a lot of money, because the total cost to get my permit basically was the cost of the book, which was $35, right? Then it was the cost of the online program that I signed on with drivingtest.org, and that was $50. So that's $85 there. And then of course the cost that you pay to process the paperwork at the DMV for the actual permit itself. But as far as study materials go, I spent less than $100 on study materials. All the rest of the materials that I got that weren't book or online related, I just went on YouTube and watched a ton of YouTube videos. So I appreciate everybody in the industry that has created YouTube channels, whether it's good information or bad information. I appreciate all the videos that are out there. It's a free reference, and it helps out a lot. Some of it does, some of it doesn't. You have to be careful what information to use and what information you shouldn't. But it's all free on YouTube. So that would be my suggestion if you don't feel like you want to spend all the money to sign up for classes. So, because it's expensive. It's not as expensive as going to school for anything else, but still you'll pay close to maybe $2,000 to go to a in-class environment to get this permit. And if that's just not an option for you, there is an option that's out there to be able to get it. And this is the route that I took. So hopefully that helps all of you out there that are looking to get into it. Hopefully my experience will help you out. If you have any questions or anything, feel free to leave comments and I will respond to your comments. Like and subscribe if you like what you're seeing. I'm going to put out more of these videos as I continue with the driving school program. And then of course, once I get on the road, I'll be pumping out videos as much as I can just to share my experience with everyone. But that's what I got for tonight, guys. Hopefully this helps y'all out. Thank you.